Hey, what's up guys, it's Wawi, and today we are talking about mid-game strategy. I'm pretty excited about this tutorial because it's been requested a lot, so without further ado, let's just hop right into it. So basic mid-game strategy. So how do you know you have problems with your mid-game? So let's say you're playing someone, you're faster than them, you have higher APM than them, but somehow you're still losing. Probably you have some problems with your mid-game strategy. Let's say you send a really big spike, and you're feeling really good, and then immediately they spike you back out even harder and you lose. Probably have some problem with your mid-game strategy. Let's say you think that you're in a winning position, but you don't know how to actually convert that into a win. Probably need to work on your mid-game strategy. Or let's say it gets to hurry up garbage, which I understand everyone plays Tetris right now, so hurry up garbage is not as relevant. But if you see hurry up garbage and you're like, oh no, I'm going to lose because I always lose at hurry up garbage, you also probably have problems with your mid-game. So how do we fix this? So first, let's talk about volatility and identifying a winning position, okay? So what do I mean by volatility? Volatility means that there's a lot of clean garbage on both sides. So as you can see here in this Ajamba versus Jaquan match, there is a lot of volatility in this particular game state, because both Ajamba and Jaquan can currently send a lot of garbage to the other person. And we would call this volatile because if one person were to misdrop at this particular frame, then the other person would not really have much problem closing it out, right? So you want to make sure to avoid misdrops when there's like a high volatility, right? So low volatility means there's a lot of messy garbage on both sides. So here you see on Jaquan's side, he has a decent amount of messy garbage. He has one Tetris hole, but you know, one attack isn't really enough to KO. And Ajamba obviously has a little bit of a misdrop here. And so he's not going to be able to send much garbage either. If someone were to misdrop in this frame right here, the other person would have to be very creative with T-spins to somehow find a way to spike them out. It's not very likely, right? So you can be sort of more aggressive in this position, right? Then let's identify winning positions and losing positions. So in this case, Ajamba has very clean garbage. Jaquan has very messy garbage, and he just misdropped, which made it even messier. This is absolutely a winning position for Ajamba. And then here's the opposite. You can't really see it. My camera is in the way. Let me just turn that off. So Ajamba just misdropped here, meaning his board is quite messy. Jaquan has a fractal set up. So fractal and a Tetris below it. So he has a whole lot of clean stuff to send, and Ajamba's not going to have any way to do it. And spoiler alert, Jaquan wins this game. Ajamba won the whole match. But this was, I think I got these examples from Hard Drop Open 9, by the way, if you want to go find these ones in particular. But yeah, so this would be a winning position for Jaquan. Let me turn my webcam back on. So the Seesaw. So word of warning, the Seesaw is not something that you can like find on the Hard Drop Wiki or anything like that. And I have never heard anyone else use this term. I think it's helpful. And I was considering it not putting this term in this tutorial because it's a term that like only I use. But honestly, I've done enough commentaries at this point, and my channel has grown enough and people know about me enough that my ego has now reached the point where I'm down to just put terms that only I use in my tutorials. So here we are. So when I say Seesaw, I mean that like one person has a lot of clean garbage and then they send it all, and then the other person has a lot of clean garbage and then they send it all. And there's sort of like the size of the seesaw can change depending on how much clean garbage is on either person's side. And as a fun fact, when I was finding an example for a Seesaw, I literally searched QMK versus Firestorm because every match I see with them, they have the most absurd Seesaws, right? And this is important, especially in hurry up garbage, to note what the size of the Seesaw is, because a size 10 or like a 10 line Seesaw in a normal game is like not that big of a deal. But once you have hurry up garbage and half your screen is taken up by the hurry up garbage, then a 10 line Seesaw is enough to kill either you or your opponent, right? So that's something you have to keep in mind. Something that you'll see quite often with Firestorm and QMK is like they'll have Seesaws that are actually more than 20 lines, which means at any given time, one person is like on the precipice of death and needs to cancel to get it out. And then they just send another more than 20 line spike over to the other person. It's actually pretty crazy. These guys have some nutty matches. But that's something to look for, is like the Seesaw, okay? So we have volatility, we have winning positions, and we have the seesaw, okay? So these are 3 concepts I want you to keep in mind as we actually start to talk about the strategy, okay? So how do we use these concepts to win a game or to come back in a game, right? Well, we do it by either canceling or accepting. So canceling is usually a defensive strategy because it reduces the size of the seesaw, right? So if we have like a size 10 seesaw and when they send an attack, I send an attack at the same time, now there are 4 fewer lines in the seesaw, right? So we would use this to defend after we misdrop because we don't want a really big seesaw. We don't want a lot of volatility. Or if generally we feel like a really volatile match isn't really going in our favor because the other person is like faster than us, more aggressive than us, whatever, we want to reduce the volatility, we'll just cancel even if we don't misdrop, just to manipulate the game state to something where maybe we're better at downstacking, and so we want to focus the match more on that, right? We want to play our own game, not their game. Accepting is a very aggressive strategy. It adds to the seesaw because you could send an attack, but you choose not to cancel it and to accept the garbage instead. And you can use this to punish a misdrop. If they misdrop and then turn it into a T-spin or something, but they have messy garbage underneath, you can just accept that T-spin and you send an even harder spike afterwards and they have nothing to defend it with now. So you would want to just accept that attack, right? Another way to do it would be to like set up a lethal spike. So if the seesaw is like at 18 or something, or like really close to the top, then if it's at like 16 and you accept a little bit of garbage, then that's like barely not enough to kill you, but it might increase your spike that you send over to over 20, which could potentially spike them out if they don't cancel, is the idea, right? So those are ways that you can use like canceling and accepting. So I have like 2 examples here. Luckily my webcam isn't covering it this time. I always forget that I need to like leave space for my webcam when I make these tutorials, by the way. It's a problem that I have. But anyway, so in this case, like QMK is all the way at the top. And so obviously like this eyepiece here, he has to send a Tetris right now, right? So Firestorm, obviously if he were to send an attack right now, this would be a mistake and it would actually let QMK back in the game, right? Because that would be a cancel for QMK. And QMK actually can't stall to cancel this because if he holds the eyepiece right here, he's KO'd, right? Because the eyepiece is already like over his screen. It just like spawned in right now. And so he's actually forced to do it right now. He can try to delay like how fast this eyepiece drops, but then Firestorm can just like wait also. As long as he recognizes that QMK has no choice here, then he'll be able to wait longer just because he has more space on his screen. So in this case, if Firestorm sends an attack here, he's actually letting QMK back in the game. But if he accepts, then he's able to spike out QMK after this. And actually in this example, he did accept and Firestorm won this specific game in this series. And then here you see that QMK misdropped and he set up a T-spin right over it. He's really good at finding these. And this is something that he does a lot because he's hoping that if Firestorm sees the misdrop and then tries to attack, he can use this T-spin to cancel that garbage because he's trying to cancel right after the misdrop that he made. This misdrop, or this T-spin in particular, is like extra good because even if it doesn't end up canceling, he has the O-piece afterwards, which will sort of fix the misdrop for him anyway. But this is something you can look to do after you misdrop is set up a T-spin and only use it for canceling. If you can see how to do that in time. It's kind of hard to do, but it's a good defensive tool to live even after you misdrop. And you'll see, I guess, Ha 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 from back in the day, if you guys remember, like from Tetris Tournament Online 2-ish, like he was really good at the strategy too, making his misdrops into T-spin setups. And like people see that as really aggressive, but actually that's a way to live after the misdrop because it allows you to cancel the lines that your opponent is sending because they saw you misdrop, right? So keep in mind that this was just like a intro to mid-game strategy thing. Obviously, depending on like the metagame and which game you're playing, like Tetris.io versus J-Stress versus like whatever. And like when there's hurry up garbage involved and when the combo systems are different, the way that you're going to use canceling and accepting is going to be different, right? But this is sort of just like an intro to start thinking about when you time your attacks and whether you're using it to cancel, to be defensive, or whether you want to be aggressive. And the way that you decide that is you assess the volatility, you assess whether you're in a winning position, and you assess the current state of the seesaw. And then based on those three things, you can use either canceling or accepting to manipulate them to get the game state that you want. And obviously it gets way more complicated than that. If you want me to talk about more advanced scenarios like this, I've actually have a couple of videos where I've done analyses of high level games. And this is most of the stuff that I talk about in those analyses. So you should definitely request more of those and watch those if you haven't already, if you want to know more about canceling versus accepting. But this is sort of just like an intro to start using like more strategy in your play rather than just mindlessly spamming APM, which is something that I see a lot at the lower ranks in Tetris for sure. So there you go. That's it. You can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, join my Discord or whatever. All the links are in the description below. Next tutorials, I do want to focus more on mid-game stuff, maybe some mid-game setups like how to see T-spin triples in the moment or how to see like super T-spin doubles in the moment or how to time your speed bursts or something, because you'll see people like speed up at certain points in the game because they understand that that's important and you can't like play at maximum speed for a whole match. I also might just do more analyses if people like this sort of strategy focus instead of like the setups and like visualization focus, because this was sort of the first tutorial of this nature. And so if people want to hear more about this kind of content, then instead of tutorials, possibly like an analysis would be better. So let me know in the comments which one you guys want. Let me know if this sort of made mid-game strategy more digestible for you. Added some terminology on there to help you guys think about it more. But it's something that you sort of have to think about in the moment. I can't give you like the surefire strategy to always win, right? It's something you have to constantly adjust depending on who you're playing and just like keep those tools in mind. Okay, I will see you guys next time. Bye.